Good morning. I'm joined today by Alex FUHRMANN to After the Buzzer. Thank you, Alex, for taking some time to come and meet with us.
Yeah, good
Um,
morning, Carl.
Good morning. Long time no see. Obviously, the background to After the Buzzer, it's all about people that's had involvement with Exeter and District, what they've gone on to do, how basketball's affected their life, really, because it affects everyone's life that's involved in it. You're obviously up in Dorset, but very similar to Craig's story, Craig Sorrell's story to start with. Your involvement in Exeter District is from Weymouth. It was Weymouth, wasn't it? You were playing for at the time,
Yeah, correct.
and with no league in Dorset, Weymouth were making the hefty travels down to Exeter for your away matches. Obviously, we did the return. So, where did your involvement with basketball start? What sort of age and sort of how did it start?
Where did I start? Well, it started with my stepbrother who got through his mum's side was posted out in the States, in Washington State, I think Washington State or Washington, no, Washington DC, and he would come back every summer to visit with his dad, who my stepdad. And I remember one year he brought me a Charlotte Hornets cap and said about this game of basketball that he'd picked up in the States. And I thought, yeah, all right, well, we're sort of 10, 11 years old, nothing to do. But he asked for a basketball, and we just spent a ridiculous amount of times just dribbling and shooting shooting a basketball at a brick on a wall. That was our goal, was that's the brick we're going to pick out, and we're just going to dribble and we're going to chest pass shoot this ball, at this brick to score. And I did that all summer, and he left. He left for the summer, but the bug of basketball very much remained.
You've been
You know,
bitten.
yeah, in me. And I had this Charlotte Hornets hat, and I went on to be a Charlotte Hornets supporter. But since then I'm not. I don't follow them. But yeah, we did that, and then he returned the next summer, and by that time, Mum had put a netball hoop on the wall in the back garden, and we were then shooting at that. And then the next summer, because he was away for 3 years, and then we got back, and then it was a basketball hoop in the alleyway next to our house, to the chagrin of of our connecting next door neighbours, having to hear that constant bouncing, and like every neighbour who's got a kid that's into basketball, you get used to it. It's like living next to a church and hearing the bells. You get used to it. So yeah, we did that, and then I guess Mum found a little basketball club run by the legend of Tim Kingman. For anybody that knows Weymouth basketball, he was just doing an hour a week at Redlands, and I started going there, and then it set off what was a lifetime of experience.
You've just mentioned him. You've just given him an award, I believe, haven't you, at the recent
Yeah, yeah,
Dorset
yeah,
Award?
lovely. He was made lifetime president of Weymouth Basketball Club for his 50 years of service. I mean, 50 years as a chairman is
Yeah.
pretty hard going. And he's just a wonderful presence in my life as a mentor. And I spoke at the meeting very generously, as much as I do like to make fun of him, of his age and his mustache, of course, that is more of a stalwart in basketball than himself. That mustache is famous, but yeah, talked about just a positive effect he's had in my life, and how he was there when I first started, my journey of basketball, and he remains there now.
So you started off what age did you join Weymouth, did you say?
So that would probably have been, and this was just a fun activity, coach. Weymouth didn't have a junior section or anything like that, so that probably would have been around 13 years old. Just doing an hour a week in a sports hall, just doing little dribbling drills and shooting drills. And then Weymouth developed a kind of bespoke junior session with Dave Corran, whose son went out to the States. And Dave was a really, really good, junior coach, really understood the game. I think he was a PE teacher as well. And that was sort of around 14, 15, we'd go down Weymouth College. And that was at the time where Weymouth college team was very successful. For anybody who knows their basics history of the UK, the England colleges sort of championship that it is now, that they all go away and compete at. Well, that was basics back then, and we had a very, very strong team. I think at one point we hosted the competition, and so there was that sort of 17, 18-year-old crop coming up, and then there was sort of our crop of 14, 15-year-olds coming up, and that's when I really sort of decided, yeah, basketball is the best sport ever.
So are you a one club man in relation to Weymouth?
Um, what in terms of who I've played for,
Who you
or
played for? Yeah.
oh, so I've well, this is a so I've always played for Weymouth. When I've been in Weymouth, I then went to where did I go next? I went to well, I was in Sierra Leone for a while, so I played a little bit out there for a club, but I did more coaching out there. Then I came back to London, and I was playing for London Towers under 20s National League. And I even made some appearances for London Towers, the BBL side, because they were short of injuries, and I managed to get a look in there, but we can talk about that a bit more. Then I went to university in Exeter. So then
Right.
I played in my first season, played for Nomads in the Exeter and District League with Dan Murphy
I wasn't
and
aware of that. I wasn't aware you came down to Exeter University on that side of it.
yeah,
That obviously.
because I was at University of Plymouth Exeter campus, so I played for the Nomads for one season. Then I went to university in the States for a year and played intramural. Came back, and then I played for Crediton in my third year. So I was with Rick Baish,
Yeah.
and who else was there? There was a point guard, Rich, and his brother who played. Um, and then I went and I played for Tamar Valley Cannons in the National League. And who's the coach down there?
Oh,
And
it
he
was
had
mentioned
two
the other day.
sons,
I can't remember. Sorry.
Matt and somebody else. George.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure there's somebody who's screaming at this podcast going, "It's
Yeah, there
George."
is a George. Yeah, because I've met him several times when he's come up to
Yeah,
talk.
he really, really good, solid
Yeah.
coach. Yeah, I did that with Ian Spearman
Hatchell,
and
George Hatchell.
Yeah, that's it, George Hatchell. Yeah, and then yeah, Ian Spearman was playing at the time, who obviously a lot of people know around Exeter and District. And then I came back to Weymouth, and then Weymouth was sort of playing between Exeter and District and Solent, as you alluded to. We'd go as far as North, Barnstaple, North Devon, or we'd get pulled over to, I think the biggest stretch was we played from Barnstaple to Bognor Regis.
That's some
That was
travel.
that was the
Some
range of
some
travel
dedication.
that you had to have, yeah, for basketball in Weymouth, Dorset. But
So
yeah, that was all of the ones I played for, I think.
and obviously eventually, and we mentioned it earlier, the Dorset League was formed, which absolutely brilliant. You know, what we all want is basketball to be played by as many people as possible. I mean, I keep saying it. It's allegedly the second most played sport in the UK. I don't believe it. I don't know where they get the figures from. I'll be completely honest. I don't think we've got the facilities to be the second most played sport, unless they're talking about those people out in their backyards putting the basketball up to that brick or to that no
Yeah,
ball game sign.
yeah. Well, I think it's this weird one because there are lots of people playing it, but I think it's whether they're registered to play. I don't know, or if it's people who consider themselves fans, because there's lots of people that love basketball, but it's one of those that I meet people that love basketball, can tell me about the NBA, but they've never picked up a ball.
Yeah.
It's a really good spectator sport. I mean, there's a lot of action, and the NBA, have done a really good job of making sure that people are interested in their product, from a spectator point of view.
Yeah, and this is probably something we're going to have to come on to in a separate conversation because we don't do a very good job in the UK, do we, of that? It's
Nope.
there's lots of good little pockets going on, but yeah, on a whole, UK hasn't got a clue in relation to basketball.
No, no, and it was interesting because when I started the Dorset League, and it was very much a passion project of mine. It was always mentioned with people, particularly from the Paul Bournemouth area, about starting a Dorset League. Um, and like I've alluded to, the rationale was Barnstaple to Bognor Regis. This can't be, this can't be the only option for Weymouth, somebody who plays basketball in Weymouth to
Yeah.
to go that far
Well,
to
it's bad enough for adults, let alone for kids to be playing. Uh,
exactly. And we just thought, yeah, well, I just thought this is ridiculous. We can do better than this. And I looked at the Exeter and District, and I looked at the Solent League, and looked at the teams, and I thought, well, hold on a minute, they're in Dorset, they're in Dorset, they're in Dorset. There's sort of seven teams here. We could
yeah,
play each other a couple of times in a season, have a pretty good one, and I talked to you guys and said, this is what I'm thinking. It would mean that we'd probably leave. I think maybe in the first season, I think we might have kept a team down in Division 3 with you guys just to sort of keep our hand in. And we talked to Bridport as well. And you guys were brilliant. You were so supportive of it. You kind of said, look, we might lose teams, but we can see what you
yeah.
want to do. What
Well,
can we do to
yeah,
help and give you advice on? Whereas the other side, it was totally different. Solent
right.
had a grip on basketball, and that's Mick Burns, who you couldn't ever tell Mick what to do when it came to basketball, and he wasn't going to have six of his teams leave Solent for us. Unfortunately for Mick, they were leaving, whether
Yeah.
he liked it or not, and
It's strange, isn't it? Because, as I said, I see as the chair of Exeter and District, and from my roles within, the committee, has always been it's about getting as many people playing. I don't care whether they're sat under, which banner they're sat under.
yeah,
And we've got similar. So obviously we had the only ladies division in the Southwest, and we had it for ages. Thankfully now, last 2 seasons, Plymouth have managed to get one off the ground, which is brilliant. Yes, we've
yeah,
lost a couple teams, 3 teams to them, but actually very similar to what happened when yourselves and Bridport left for the Dorset. I think it took us, I was having a look at the figures the other day, 3 seasons, I think, before we had more players registered and playing for us in Exeter and District as when you left. So yes, there
mm,
was a hit for 2 or 3 seasons, but you add that to how many were then playing in Dorset League as well, and overall we probably grew by 300 players, actually playing between those two leagues by separating
Well,
it.
and it's also in a similar vein of us not wanting to travel a 3 hour round trip for a 2 hour game. It was the same. I'm sure Torquay and Torbay didn't want to travel to Weymouth on a
Yeah,
on a Tuesday,
on a
on
Tuesday
a wet
evening, wasn't it?
Tuesday night. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. For an 8 o'clock tip off, you got to leave. You got to leave at 5:30. You don't get back till midnight. I'm sure that people were turned off in some respect for that, but I think it speaks to the resiliency of um, your committee, but generally the resiliency of people who are willing to take a hit, understand that okay, short term something's changing, but long term the vision doesn't. It's still we want to promote it, and I think actually, when Carl we talk about our respective associations, that when Dorset then got formed and was working, we then had that sort of that that King of the Mountain competition. So I think we had Bridgewater come over from Somerset. We had Bournemouth Bears from Solent. I can't remember who we had from you guys. Was it? It wasn't Torbay, was it? It was somebody else. Or no Nomads, I think it
right.
was. I can't remember who it was, but they came over, and it's like right, the rising tide has lifted everybody up here. The quality of basketball
Yeah.
that and that everybody understood that yeah,
Well,
it's good. We're
very
building.
interesting you say that because one of the developments for next season that we've sort of put in place, and it's about this variety and a higher level of basketball, is we're going to have an invitational cup, and
Yeah,
basically we've got I don't know if you've heard, but we've got East and West conferences, and there's going to be um, two teams from Cornwall, 2 teams from the Plymouth League, 2 from Exeter, 2 from the Somerset League, 2 from Webber, and 2 from Dorset.
mm,
And in your East, I've got to think which way you are. So in East, you'll have 2 groups of 3, and you'll have 1 team from Dorset, 1 team from Somerset, and 1 team from Webber. They play each other. Then the top 2 cross over and play each other, and then gonna have semi-finals and finals at a neutral venue. And
it's
it
a great
just
idea.
gives it's a different team you're going to play against at a higher level, and uh, it's great for amateur basketball. Put it that way.
Well,
Forget
I
the
think I,
professional
I
side.
think what that provides is it's that it's that sort of that grey area between National League and local league. We all know those National League players that don't want to go all the way to Brixton for a game. I remember doing that at Tamar Valley Cannons. You know, we went all the way to Brixton for a game. Some people can't do that, especially when you get to an age where you're having family and stuff like that. But they're still really getting their eye in at Division One local league. You're giving an opportunity there for some really
So
competitive
yeah, next step
games.
up. Yeah,
That next step up is you're not having to travel all that way, but you're still getting your eye in and saying, well, actually, I could really, I
well,
could really get you think about what, Weymouth player. I'm thinking about Ollie Turner, 6'6" ex BBL player, can't do the run, but he's going to potentially get to play against, somebody from the Taunton um, National League setup that might want to come in. I'm thinking of like, your Joe Mills and stuff like that
yeah,
who play National League, or Paul Yabsley. They're suddenly going to be matched up against each other, and it just makes for a better experience for that amateur right up to that level. It's
yeah.
excellent.
No, that's great. Are you still playing, Alex?
I'm not. No, I think the the short answer, no.
Is that a
The
time
style,
thing, or has time caught up with you, so to speak, with your body?
I think my body caught up with me. I think my style of play, and because I played so much for so long, I forgot to mention when I was junior National League when I was 16 to 18, I was playing for Poole Dolphins as well. It's just I played so much, and my knees and my lower back just took an absolute beating, and it got to a point when I I turned I turned my hand to a legends team, so an over 35s team a little while ago, which was a lovely idea, because Weymouth had such a legacy of players, and we pulled in a lot of guys that had been out for a number of years to play in the Dorset League, and by the way, the Dorset League had then grown. Within 4 or 5 years, we'd gone from 7 teams to I think 18 teams, and in-house junior competitions from under 10s up to under 18s, and I just thought, well, let's throw a team in Division Three, a vets team, and we did that, but I couldn't shake the way I play. I was still jumping out of bounds for loose balls. I was still, able to put in a 30-point game when I needed to, but it just really took it out of me, and I kind of we had our second child, and putting my socks on in the morning was hurting a bit too much.
Yeah, I've
So
been there. I know that. I know that feeling.
yeah, so I
I haven't
just
played at the level you played.
but you can't teach height, Carl, and you've got bags of that. So
Yeah, trouble is I'm wider now as well, so it's people to go round as well.
but I just couldn't get it anymore. So I just thought, let's give up the ghost. And to be honest, man, I just, my experience with BE and trying to take more of a leadership role nationally with my position as Dorset chairman and speaking for grassroots level, I was getting knocked back. And I think on reflection, that really affected my general relationship with basketball. I think that it's silly to say, I know, but playing and the politics of it should be separate, but they're not. When you've grown up for nearly 30 years plus of this just hard passion you've got for this sport and the people that are around you and the relationships and everything I've ever done in life has been kind of always comes back to basketball. It I just had enough, and I couldn't deal with that at one stage, and then the injuries and those things. So I just took the position, and to be honest, I think also important. I'd been chairman for 5 years. I'd done what I wanted to do, and I did it with the great help of the likes of Craig Sorrell, Chris Canham, Ian Edwards, uh, uh, Martin. Who's Martin? It was our treasurer. I can't think now. But I'd done it with such a good team, and I'd realised that my dream had come true. I'd developed basketball for Dorset with the help of colleagues. It's time for somebody else to do it.
Yeah, I mean it's a
I've all,
fantastic league, a
yeah. Thank
fantastic
you,
associate. It is.
thank you.
Looking, you've done things up there that I wish we could have done down here, and I still wish. all right, I'm a bit longer in the tooth than you in relation to the chair, but that's probably because there's no one underneath at the moment fighting to take it off me. Um,
But it's that classic thing, Carl, isn't it? It's our baby, and we when you get it right, you want to see it through. But also, people tend to step back because they don't want to rock the boat either.
hmm,
And for me, it was a hard decision, but I kind of knew I didn't want to be relied upon like that. I didn't want Dorset basketball to rely on if I died in a sexy speedboat accident one day, or but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. If Alex goes, then the association sort of crumbles. I kind of stepped away, knowing that I would be there in the wings for advice, for input, and they've never come to me for it because I think that I set it up and I got a good team in place that I knew I could just step away, and they're doing a great job. I spent the whole day up there at their finals day this year, and it didn't need, but they asked me to go on the microphone as most people do when I turn up to a basketball event to MC. But again, I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to sit and enjoy. And it was a lovely, it was a great day of basketball, as it is whenever I come and
yeah.
see any basketball. It's just that instant love, whether the level is at Division 3, Exeter District, or Dorset up to BBL, Bristol Flyers. You're just there for the atmosphere and the love, and it's wonderful still.
See, you'd mentioned it, and I'd got it down on my list, so I do a few notes. I don't just come into this blind. MCing. Now, my first encounter with you MCing was at obviously Bridport free on free. You do a fantastic job of it. I mean, where does that come from? Where does that confidence come from, and the quick wit?
Well, I don't know. Do you know what? I always, oh, you know me. I'm not shy. I'm a social butterfly. I love, and I think it's a love of people that, and that idea that you can put a smile on someone's face. And there is that. I do mention, if you're not in trouble, you're not having fun, and that's what I always come back to. If by when I MC, I try to have fun. I try to make it so I'm enjoying myself, because if I'm not enjoying myself, nobody else is. Now, sometimes that does come with might be a swear word or two, or it goes close to the line of political correctness. But again, that's part of what I find funny and what I find, distinctively, me about it. And it was only, a few years ago, I'd done a couple of boxing events and done intros like that. And Craig sort of came to me and said, we're doing this 3-on-3. What do you think about MC? And I thought, go on then, I'll have a go. And 30 years of basketball just is instant prepare. You are prepared. I walk in, I don't need to take any notes. It's not like when I did the boxing stuff and the tie fighting stuff that I'd need to sort of like brush up on who's who. I can
Yeah.
walk into a room and I know every single person there. Um, I know all the isms of basketball to be able to talk about the movie references that you can just pull out of nowhere to get the one guy in the corner who's going to laugh about the white man can't jump.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's so pretty. And it's those wonderful, and I was really lucky actually. And my one of my highlights, whether you've seen it or not, it is, I think it's infamous on the internet, is when I was asked to MC the Bev Guyman event up at Solent. So
Right.
before Bev passed, she had a testimonial game in her fight against cancer and raising money, and I was asked to do that. And I was kind of in all sorts of get-ups. I remember I was as a dressed up as like a Steve Irwin type character, and I was hunting the referees. And I remember tackling Andrew Longland to the floor and had this sort of microphone on, sort of talking about, oh, he's a young male. I've checked the genitals. He is absolutely fine. He's a healthy, young, virile juvenile. And all these, you know, I just having fun, and I had a lot of compliments from them. Sam, remember Sam Nater, Hoop Fix, kind of, somewhat, big name in British
Yeah.
basketball, said, it was the best job he'd ever seen as an MC in terms of, crowd engagement, stuff like that. And I just think, great, if I'm bringing the experience of basketball a little bit closer to someone's heart, or their humor, and giving them a better time, then I'll do it. And sometimes you know, and that's led to me getting bookings and being paid for it, which is great. And but you know, something like the Bridport 3-on-3, I'd never charge for that. But you
Yeah.
know, I'm lucky enough to be able to do that sometimes. And
Like you
you
said,
know,
it's the entertainment, the engagement, the crowd, and you know, even the players and like you say, officials, because sometimes it is too close to the wind. But that's probably 99% of people who participate in basketball know that's part of it. You know,
yeah,
you have those conversations between players on a court, let alone someone on a mic.
exactly. And you can go to, and I think it's important to know, you can go to, and it's not a knock on any presentation from other places, but you can go to pretty much any National League place and you can hear Johnson to Jones for three, and they're back on defense, you know, and it
Yeah,
becomes just a monotone, you know,
it's just white
commentary of
noise
it.
in the background, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does. And you're not really, but when you can, you know, you can start doing, I mean, I grew up with going to the Millfield camps up in Somerset, and I always remember being a camper there, and people like Ronnie Heath were on the microphone, and you know they get the whole crowd to stand up and cheer and clap before the first basket was scored. And it's thinking about how you can connect. You know, I always think as an MC, you're connecting the basketball to the person. It's not like there's a wall between them. It's like you're having an effect on what's going on the court, and if you can kind of stir that passion between them both, play like you said, players, because they're all having those conversations and they're all engaged in it,
yeah.
then you're doing a great job. It's just, you know, it's a wonderful experience for everybody, and you know, I get to have fun at the same time.
I mean, it's interesting when with officiating, especially in the past, when I've done some of the larger places. So I've been lucky enough to do Plymouth Pavilions for Raiders a couple of times, and
Oh
like
yeah, wonderful.
matches pre-season, and even the varsity matches for Exeter University, where they have a good crowd of 500 there, and most of the white noise you don't hear. It's really strange how you don't hear it during the match, but occasionally something will come through and it'll be a personal comment, not nasty, but something reflecting on a player to, as you say, a TV character or something like that, and you just sit there. You
Yeah.
can't help but this smile comes over your face, and you
Yeah.
look at the player concerned, and even they're smiling about it
I
because
think I think my favorite one for referees, and I do this when I'm at Solent because I'm lucky enough to be close friends with Matt Guyman, so I tend to get, you know, a good seat at the
yeah,
front. Is if a referee calls a foul and it's against, you know, it's against Solent, obviously referees go to the sideline to put their
yeah,
hands up on one or two, and whenever they put their single hand up, I'll always shout out, "Put your hand up if you got it wrong," and of course they put their hand up, and you always then get a little smile. But it's great because referees are always seen as these sort of robots. And I know, you know, as a referee myself, you know,
yeah,
I'm a level 3 referee. So you know, I've been in those situations where it can be quite high pressure in terms of, you know, the stakes of the game for the players and the clubs. Um, and then they just sort of crack a smile and it's like, oh yeah, we're part of it too.
yeah.
We're not just, you know,
Part of the
there. It's
pantomime. We're all part of the pantomime.
yeah, exactly. And no, and it's always and no, and none of it is so serious. It's all we're all there to enjoy. So referees are there because they love basketball. You
Yeah,
know,
we're
despite
not going
what.
to get rich over it.
Yeah, tell me when we are. Yeah,
Having remembered those journeys up to 2.5 hour journey for a 1.5 hour game, and there's your £12. Thank you.
yeah, brilliant. And a bit of petrol money that won't cover the petrol. Yeah,
Yeah, oh no, it's there. So you're it's come across. You're a flamboyant character. You're still into teaching, but you're counsellor now. I understand. I've seen a couple of things, and how does
yeah.
that reflect then? How does your flamboyance come out that way?
Well, you'll never catch me in a suit and tie. I mean, that to the chagrin of most councillors, particularly at the Dorset Council level, the unitary level, they hate, and I'm sure some of my town councillors do, they hate the fact that I turn up in a pair of, like last night, I was at full council at Weymouth Town Council in a pair of tie-dye shorts and a Rossi's ice cream, big up the Rossi's ice cream in Weymouth, and a Rossi's ice cream t-shirt. But that's how I roll. I think most, if I could put it to, you know, by most things, take the job seriously. Don't take yourself seriously. That's one of my mantras through life. You know, I love taking things seriously. Dorset basketball didn't become what it was. I didn't become a teacher. I didn't become a counsellor, and I think with a modicum of success in my life if I didn't take it seriously. But at no point do I ever take myself seriously. I think the day that I do, I want people to tell me, put me in line and remind me where I'm at. But to be honest, the councillor stuff, I always had a little bite in the back of my mind. I can't remember where I heard it. You should always run for office once in your life. You should always try to do some sort of public service once in your life. And I just thought, bugger it, let's do it. I'd been involved with the teaching unions through work, and I joined the Labour Party to see what that would entail, because the unions and the Labour Party, and being a teacher, living where I am, it was a no-brainer. I won and got voted in. I then left the Labour Party. I went independent because for me, local politics is too political, or it can be. And that wasn't why I was in it. I was in it for people, not politics.
Yeah,
And,
in it for the area, the town. And
oh yeah, completely. And anybody that knows me knows that, again, my outspokenness, not because I particularly want the spotlight or to be contrary to the ideas of others, a contrarian or whatever. It's because if I think that something can be done better, or if I think there's a stronger argument in favor of something else, I'm going to do it. I'm never going to sit on my hands and accept anything if I think that there's a better way. And not because I just want to be difficult, it's because I want it for the people around me. I want basketball in Dorset because the people of Dorset deserve to have basketball and not travel from Bognor to Barnstable. If I would stand in a council meeting and say that I want allotment fees up, it's because I don't want the people around me to be paying in subsidy of that. So it's lended itself quite usefully, actually, because I suppose basketball gave me that kind of introduction to civil service. Because if we think about it, nobody it speaks of you as well, Carl. Nobody's in basketball to make money, or to get their ego stroked, or to do anything except serve other people, because that's all we're doing. I mean, we might suit our own agenda in terms of what we want. I wanted basketball for Dorset, but ultimately the byproduct of that was that 18 teams, however many junior setups, that's who benefited from it far more than I did. And it can be that way. You can do things that you want to do and happen at the same time to serve a great amount of people and for you to do good in your community. And basketball really did, I think about it now, really did do that. It set me up so when I came into council, I looked at council papers and being on a committee and thought, oh, hold on a minute. I've chaired a meeting before. I know how to look at a finance sheet. I know how to bring people together and to balance ideas and find compromise, because this is what I've done in basketball for however many years. So I've never really thought about it like that before, but that probably did. It probably
it's
did.
interesting because it was one of the things when I left policing that before I left, I actually thought, oh, I'd look quite fancy trying to be a councillor. I don't know why. As I say, I become a police officer. No one in my family had ever been a police officer before in their life. Yeah, my dad was a lorry driver. It was like completely left turn sort of thing, and I don't know.
Yeah.
These things come along, aren't they? And they're like, oh,
Yeah, and they just lend themselves. And I think basketball's a little bit of a niche sport. I mean, again, we started off by saying it's second most popular, but really is a bit of the people who are in basketball really are. We know each other from the top end of the country to the bottom. We have to, in basketball, kind of look after ourselves. God knows BE aren't going to do it, especially at the local grassroots level. So we've had to there's lots of us across the country, and like me, myself and you, where we've just had to get on with it. And that lends itself in life to a big skill set, that ability to be resilient, that when someone says you can't do it, what do we say, Carl? We go, actually, we can do it, and we're just going to do it.
I think, Alex, I'm going to have to wrap it up shortly. It's a shame.
Yeah, sure.
There's other bits that I wanted to touch on with you, your collection of shirts, and because everyone knows about your collection of shirts, but also
Continues to grow.
whether there's conflict in your councillor role with, more basketball courts in open places and stuff like that. But I especially love to catch up with you with regards to Basketball England. Both
Yeah,
you and me have got an issue, not an issue, it's the wrong thing. We're very passionate about grassroots basketball, and that has caused a conflict with Basketball England and
anytime you want, Carl, you get
organisation.
a non-filter. I gave you a couple of hours.
Alex, sorry. Nice, nice little cut off there. I just wanted there's loads of things to cover with you. And it's great catching up. But let's talk about your collection of shirts, your basketball shirts. Did that start from your time in America?
Well, do you know what I can tell you? No, it wasn't in America. It was before that. It was when I got Charlotte Hornets jersey. I got Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning, the great the great team of the 90s with Muggsy Bogues and Hershey Hawkins. And I just a few about 10, or it must be about 10 years ago, I just started seeing them come up, and I thought, God, the level of nostalgia was overpowering. And I thought, you can pick these up. People don't know what they've got sometimes. I just picked up a Tracy McGrady, Orlando Magic. It's from his rookie season. The champion print is in phenomenal condition. I got it for like 15 quid. And for me, I mean, I could sell it. You see the Jersey guys selling them on Instagram for up to like 75 quid. But it's just for me, it's just takes me back, especially the champion jerseys, takes me back to those the 1990s. And then they're the print ones, and then you've got the Euro dyed ones, which are the ones that are just dyed into the fabric, that most people are aware of, in terms of like the black pinstripe Jordans and stuff like that came out like that. um they're just there. I mean, it did get a bit of an issue when I started just getting every jersey I could. And then I mean, anybody who follows my Instagram at Alex, Big Alex F, um, you could just see the hundreds of jerseys, and I had to have a bit of a word myself and the storage that was going. So last year I put 100 of them on, up for sale,
Yeah,
and I'm just selling them for like 20 quid each. That it's no, but they're all the modern jerseys. The Durant's, Jermaine O'Neal's. It's all that era that I wasn't really into, but I just kind of got them because they were there and they were
they
a
were
good
there.
price.
Yeah,
But now I just focus on champion prints and the European dyes. And I would love to tell you, Carl, that I'm going to slow down, but when one comes out, a Jason Williams, not the point guard, the forward from the New Jersey Nets. You go on Vinted and you see Nets 55, and I'm getting that rush of like, right, leading rebounder in the 2000 season, whatever. Here we go. And then it's a youth extra large. And I'm like, oh, curse it. I really do get excited still, because it just brings back those memories of, basketball on Channel 4 with Scoop Jackson and
yeah.
Mark Webber or Webster. And it just takes me there. And then they go into storage and they don't do anything. I've got so many nice ones. And I probably should get to a point where I just sell them all one day, but I'm not ready to yet.
Do do you think you mentioned there about basketball on TV, Channel 4, etc. Do you think we should have free to air basketball in the UK?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's an open goal. It's so funny. I go on holiday to Greece. You go anywhere, you pretty much go on the local channels. There'll be sport on, and it'll most likely be basketball. I mean, in Greece, it's bigger, but Spain, Italy, you can turn on and find a National League game, from that country, let alone the NBA. But I think football's got such a tight grasp, and I'm sure it probably goes up politically somewhere. There's somebody in the FA that has their hooks into UK sport, as much like rugby and cricket. Yeah,
It's,
I can't believe it. I can't believe that that basketball is just being left so far behind in that respect. And that's how the world works. The world works on relationships and people. So there's going to be somebody who doesn't want basketball to succeed, and that person just happens to be in the right era at the moment.
And there's lots of, as I said, we're going to have another one of these sessions because we got so much to talk about in relation to grassroots basketball and mismanagement, or not listening to grassroots is probably the best way I could
Yeah,
phrase it.
and that's the easiest thing. Yeah, just listen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and to me, it seems people are in it for short-term gain rather than long-term. You know, free to air basketball. All right, if you get someone to pay for basketball to go on TV, yes, that's great for your 2-3 years. But you've even got to look at some of the larger sports. Take you cricket went across to pay TV or Sky TV or whatever, and they realised they were missing out on generations that didn't get to see it, and slowly bits are coming back to free to air. And I just think
free to air. And I just think,
oh, got a bit of feedback there.
Oh.
It's we started. I don't know if you've noticed, but we started filming our games down in Exeter and District with our
Yes,
YouTube channel.
I think that's brilliant. I saw that the other day. I think what a great way to introduce people to basketball, because it's YouTube and online, but also really importantly, what you're developing there is an archive of basketball, and it's so interesting to
Did you see
think
the
about.
Weymouth match on there?
I think I sent you a couple of. I think I sent you a Bridport Weymouth
Yeah.
game from 1998. But it's great. You're not going to get the most views. You're not going to get any advertising money. But what you do is you're giving an opportunity for that product at that point of time to stay there forever and to be accessible to people. I think it's brilliant.
It was I've got to be honest, in our own head, it was a risk at the beginning. I was really worried about players going, see, the referee's got it wrong here, the referee's got it wrong there. Because that's what they love to do, isn't
Yeah,
it? We're
yeah,
all human, and that was my main risk, if I'm honest, at the beginning. And we had a good
yeah,
conversation with the players, and I said, as a player, I would have loved to have had more pictures when I was playing, to
yeah,
have a video of when you're playing, and some of the university ones, and people at college to send off to colleges you're trying to get to, and here's my best picks and my best shots, etc. Put your own clip reel together. And I've been pleasantly surprised. We've had, I think, in the years we've done it, one instance where someone said, "You got that wrong."
yeah.
Whereas most don't blink an eye at it, and you'd be surprised. 300 hours a week on average we get, even in the closed season, of people watching it. It's like, what are you watching?
But it's great though, because you've got people are interested in analytics now and stats and all those things, and it just lends itself so beautifully to that, because you can go back and it's probably raising the level of play within Exeter and District, because people can go in, whether it's scouting other teams, but they can look at their own performance and reflect on it. And now even younger people who, I think about the Weymouth team, and you've got lots of you and Max, they're not going away to play National League. What their basketball appetite is that, but they still want to get better, and they
Yeah.
still want to find out ways of, how can I improve drop coverage or hedging out on screens and things like that. Like how do I get better at that? Well, okay, I can look at the NBA and see what they do, but what does it look like in reality? It looks like that. And so it's a great resource for people to reflect upon and get better basketball. I think it's wonderful.
I'm not going to tell you who it was, which team it was, but we had a national side or a national league or regional league or one of those, whatever.
Yeah.
And we actually got asked not to publish their videos until the end of the season, because the season before, opposing coaches had picked up their best plays on it, and I do have quite regularly. I have messages coming in going, "We're playing them in the next cup round of so and so. Is there any chance I can see it?" No, because they partly
No.
own it. I can't release
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, but that's part of the game, isn't it? Like, that's
But
what you're doing. You're raising the standard, because then the
Yeah,
reaction should be, we've got to get better, not they need to know less.
yeah. And another pleasant one, match officials. So yeah, I sit down, obviously speak to Balti and people like that, and regularly, our new match officials and our older ones are like, go away, analyze your great game. Look
Yeah,
at the call you
great.
made, then look where you made it from, or if you think you missed something, where were you stood at that time? What could you see?
I think yeah, I think actually that's a really important. I mean, I remember doing my level three with Balti at the Exeter
Yeah,
police station, doing the staying the night over and doing your at best of the West competition, and you get this sort of feedback, but it doesn't go anywhere because you're just trying to think about back in the moment, and of course you
yeah,
can't rationalize why you were in the wrong place. It's just the way it was. But yeah, that's a great point. You are able to go back, and particularly referees, it's such an important court position is just the most underrated thing ever. It doesn't matter if you're strong on the whistle or you've
no,
got all the
you've got to
hand
be in the
signals.
right place to make the right call.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's a really good point that you can just go back and say, actually, I'm not down as far as I need to be, or I'm
yeah.
not.
And in
Yeah,
fact, saying my worry was about players picking up. Do you know it's the referees that pick it up most? Not criticizing other referees, but I quite regularly get, um, can you have a look at 2 minutes 58 in the third quarter of this match? I think I missed a back court, or I think I missed can you review it and tell me what you think? And it's like, blimey, talk about, and that, I mean, it shows dedication. We're talking about local league officials, new
yeah,
officials going through that are actually sitting down and going, right,
brilliant.
I'm going to
Yeah,
note down everything I've done in that match or didn't do,
yeah.
and why did I
Again,
miss that?
it allows people to raise their bar.
Yeah,
Brilliant. And I applaud you for that because we didn't do it in Dorset from a central point as a committee, but seeing what you did, and then when you reached out to me for some old Weymouth footage that I had, it got us thinking, and we then and I don't know what they do now because it's been a couple of years since I was in charge, but we then put it on Teams to say, if you've got footage, which some teams do, send it to this channel, and or can you make it available to other teams so they can watch it, and
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
it's great across. Yeah,
fantastic memories,
yeah,
for
exactly.
people, more than anything else. And I'm I'm going to have to look up that Bev Guyman match for you against Solent and find it because I haven't seen that, so I'm going to have to dig that out.
It was great because we turned up and there's like Peter Scantlebury playing, and I think Peter Scantlebury at some point in the game dunked on me, while I was like backtracking and emceeing at the same time, dressed as Jackie Moon from Semi Pro, and I was backtracking and he just dunked over me, and so it's quite nice. It made the ESPN top 10 plays the day after, um, as I think he was like 42 or whatever, and still dunking it on the fast break, and yeah, it was great. That was a great experience. But yeah, I'll let you dig that out, mate.
That's brilliant, Alex. Thank you. I'm going to ask one last question, unless there's anything else you want to raise. But I love to ask it to individual people, and putting you on the spot. Most embarrassing moment for you in a basketball match?
Oh, unequivocally, scoring in the wrong basket straight off the tip off. If that easy, easy. That was it. Nike camp. Tip went on already. The other team are 2 points up. There is also the other one where I remember jumping out of bounds, and I think it was against like Avon Valley in the National League for Paul Dolphins. Jumped out of bounds, took the ball out of the way, and I don't know why I instinctively just spread my hands, and I landed splat against the wall, and then proceeded to just like sort of roll down it. And to this day, my friend Liam, my player, it still reminds him of like Wile E. Coyote from the Looney Tunes when they hit the wall and then they just peel down and everybody's delight.
Uh,
Um, but again, I'm not sure that could you really embarrass me in a basketball game? I'm not sure. I think
I suppose
I
it's
might
only
be
right
beyond
that I
that.
should tell you my embarrassing moment because people
Yeah,
keep
go
telling me
on.
about it. And well, Grant reminds me quite regularly, and I'm really pleased it wasn't recorded. But it was one of those matches. Do you remember when Nomads used to? I think Nomads used to play there down at the old Exeter College
Yeah, I know what you
sports
mean.
hall. They got
Yeah.
very slippery in the winter. The
Yes.
condensation. So we had a game, and there must have been 3 or 4 people who slipped over during the game. And you know what it's like? It's local league. Don't want anyone to get injured, but we really, it'd be nice to play this game out. And people were asking, are we going to stop the game? No, we'll see how it goes. Maybe if another one goes, and we're going to have to get to that point. Anyway, I was in line. There was a foul occurred, and calling the foul, I stepped forward with my hand in the air. And as I stepped forward, my legs went from under me, and I did this Superman impersonation, which ended up in like a whale on the floor. And everyone sort of stopped and looked at me, and then was like, "Are you going to stop the game now?" And I thought, I can't stop the game now just because I've slipped over. So we did play a bit more after that until someone else went over.
There is nothing better in a basketball game, and I'm speaking for everyone around the world. There is nothing better than when a referee falls over in a basketball game. I remember Tim Kingman, he always used to tell me when I was, when I started my level 1 and level 2, you always do that thing where you backtrack.
Oh, yeah.
So you
don't run backwards.
Don't ever run backwards, because you will fall over at some point. And I remember that was etched into my mind. And luckily, I've never fallen over as a referee. But when they do, my God, is it funny? I mean, I'll just say Tim fell over once, and we're still talking about it to this day. That was like 20 years ago. Please, referees, know the gift of the gift of humor that you're giving the basketball world when you fall over. It's never a bad thing. It's like being touched by God as a basketball player, just seeing that referee go down.
I think we've got a lovely one on our YouTube channel of Rob Kingdom at a varsity match, and he's mid.
You haven't even told the story. I'm already laughing.
Yeah,
I love it. I love
he's
it.
mid, and the players, I think 2 players take him out. He's actually off the court, but 2 players going for the ball, take him out. You can see him on the floor, but he still manages to blow his whistle for the foul.
Yeah. Hand up, one hand down to stop him. I imagine it. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
No, Alex, I'm gonna finish it there. I could speak to you all day. I really could, but my work colleagues would tell me off.
But thanks for having me, Carl. I really appreciate it. I know I've been out of basketball for a couple of years, and now I'm into the wide world of jiu-jitsu, and I'm sure people are thinking, well, if you got injured playing basketball, but amazingly, combat sports, you do get less injured with a big thick mat underneath you. But
you might be out of basketball, Alan, Alex, but the basketball will never be taken out of you.
Correct. But I want to thank you for inviting me on and talking to me, because these are things and stories and experiences that I haven't thought of for a long time. So it's really lovely to share those with you, and to hear your stories and the success you're continuing to have, because despite whatever happens above us and below us, it's mainstays like us in basketball, or for yourself particularly, that are keeping the ship steady, and thank you for that. I really appreciate what you're doing down there, and for inviting me here to share that stuff.
We'll have another catch up. We can slag everyone off then. Did I just say
anytime? No holds barred. I can name the names. I've been in the meetings, and we need to shed light on the places that some people don't want the light to be, because it's important that everybody sees what's going on, everybody knows what's going on, and we can continue to make sport and basketball a positive influence in people's lives, because it's definitely made one in mine.
100% agree. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck with counselling. Good luck with jiu-jitsu and everything else you go in, and especially your MCing, because it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Cheers. And big shout to everybody down in the Exeter and District League. You guys were a big part of me, my formative years of basketball, and Dave, Dave Smoothie, and Roy Parslow as well. Shout out to him, and Uncle Bill. All of those legends of basketball, not of the Exeter and District, but of basketball, did so much for basketball in the Southwest. And I just think you're carrying that flag and keeping that torch alive, and it does make an impact. Keep everybody who's watching this, if you're involved, just keep doing it. You don't know the next 12-year-old that you're inspiring to be a loudmouth local politician one day. And it's just so positive. So to everybody down at the Exeter and District. Thanks for everybody. You know, keep fighting that good league, because it's a wonderful example of what basketball can do and be a part of a wider community. So thank you guys.
And just let me reiterate, the Southwest basketball does go past Birmingham, doesn't it? Just so everyone in the UK knows. All right,
Yeah.
there is a part. Birmingham isn't part of the Southwest, as far as I was aware.
No. Brilliant. All right.
Take care, mate. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
great shout. Nice to see you, Carl. All the best.
Take care. Bye.